Once upon a time, in a kingdom far away, lived a beautiful princess in a grand palace with her father, the king. Among all her sparkling jewels and magnificent dresses, her most prized possession was a small, gleaming golden ball. Her favorite pastime was to sit by an old well deep in the cool forest, tossing her golden ball high into the air, catching it with a giggle as it came down. She could do this for hours, the golden sphere a tiny sun in her hands. One sunny afternoon, as she was playing her favorite game, she threw the ball just a little too high. Her eyes followed its arc as it soared towards the sky, but on its way down, it missed her outstretched hands. With a faint plop, it fell straight into the deep, dark well and vanished beneath the water. The princess's heart sank with it. She peered into the murky depths, but her beautiful ball was gone. Tears welled up in her eyes and streamed down her cheeks. She sat by the well, sobbing as if her heart would break. Suddenly, a croaky voice interrupted her sorrow. "Why are you crying, dear princess? Your tears could fill this well all over again." She looked around, startled, and there, perched on the mossy edge of the well, sat a small green frog with big, blinking eyes. "Oh, it's just you, old water splasher," she said, wiping her tears. "I'm crying because my golden ball, my favorite toy in the whole world, has fallen into the well, and I can't get it back." The frog looked at her thoughtfully and then said, "I can help you with that. I can dive down and bring your ball back to you, but what will you give me in return for such a service?" The princess's face lit up with hope. "Oh, anything you want, dear frog," she exclaimed. "You can have my finest clothes, my precious jewels, even my golden crown." The frog shook his little head. "Your clothes, jewels, and crown are of no use to me," he croaked. "But I will retrieve your ball if you will make me a promise. Promise me you will love me and let me be your companion. Let me eat from your little golden plate and sleep upon your soft silk pillow." The princess stared at the frog. What a silly request! How could a slimy frog possibly eat from her plate or sleep in her bed? It was absurd. Thinking it was just a foolish frog's fancy, she quickly agreed. Yes, I promise everything. Just please, hurry and bring back my ball." Without another word, the frog dove headfirst into the deep water. The princess waited, holding her breath. A few moments later, which felt like an eternity, he resurfaced with the golden ball shining in his mouth. He hopped onto the grass and rolled the precious toy towards her feet. The princess was overjoyed. She snatched up her ball, her heart filled with relief, and without a second thought for the frog, she turned and ran back towards the palace. "Wait!" the frog called after her. "Wait, princess, take me with you. Remember your promise." But the princess was already too far away, and his croaks faded into the distance. She didn't give him another thought. Later that evening, the royal hall was filled with the soft clinking of cutlery as the king and the princess sat down for dinner. Suddenly, a strange sound echoed from the grand oak door. Tap, Tap, splat, tap, tap, splat. A curious look passed between the king and his daughter. "I wonder who that could be," the king mused. The princess, a little unnerved, went to open the door, and there on the doorstep, looking up at her with his big, round eyes, was the frog. She let out a small shriek of terror and slammed the door shut, her face pale. She rushed back to the table, her heart pounding in her chest. The king, seeing her distress, asked gently, "My child, what has frightened you so? Is there a giant at our door?" Shaking, the princess told her father everything about the lost golden ball, the helpful frog, and the promise she had so carelessly made and broken. The king listened patiently, his expression growing stern. When she finished, he looked at her and said, "A promise is a promise, and a princess of this kingdom always keeps her word. You made a deal, and now you must honor it. Go and let him in." With a heavy heart and dragging feet, the princess went back to the door and opened it. The frog hopped in, following her closely, his little webbed feet making soft slapping sounds on the polished marble floor, all the way to the dining table. "Lift me up beside you," the frog croaked once she was seated, "so that I may eat from your little golden plate, as you promised." The princess recoiled in disgust. The thought of sharing her food with a cold, damp frog made her feel ill. She refused, shaking her head, but her father's voice was firm. "Do as you promised," he commanded. Reluctantly, she picked up the frog and placed him on the table beside her plate. He ate his fill, and the princess could barely swallow a single bite. When the meal was over, the frog stretched his little legs and said, "I am tired now. The day has been long. Take me to your room and let me sleep on your soft pillow." At this, the princess could no longer hold back her tears. The idea of this slimy creature in her clean, comfortable bed was horrifying. But the king was unmoved by her cries. "He helped you when you were in trouble," he said, his voice unwavering. "You must keep your word." Her shoulders slumped in defeat. She carefully picked up the frog between her thumb and forefinger, trying not to touch him too much, and carried him up the winding staircase to her beautiful chamber. She walked over to the far corner of the room and set him down on the cold floor. But the frog was not satisfied. "I am tired, and I want to sleep in a proper bed, just like you," he insisted. "Lift me onto your pillow, or I will have to tell your father that you have broken your promise again." This was the last straw. A wave of anger washed over the princess. She had been patient, she had been obedient, but she would not share her pillow with this horrid creature. In a fit of rage, she snatched him up and cried, "You want to rest? Then rest there, you ugly thing." And with all her might, she threw him against the wall. But as the frog hit the stone wall, a magical light filled the room. Where the small green frog had been, there now stood a handsome young prince with kind eyes and a warm smile. The princess gasped, her anger melting away into pure astonishment. The prince explained that a wicked witch had cast a spell on him, turning him into a frog. The curse could only be broken by a princess who would promise to be his companion and ultimately show him true kindness. Her promise, though reluctantly kept, had fulfilled the first part, and her final act, though born of anger, had shattered the last of the witch's magic. The next morning, a magnificent golden carriage drawn by 8 white horses arrived at the palace. The prince, now restored to his true form, asked the princess to return with him to his kingdom. Having learned a valuable lesson about keeping her promises and looking beyond appearances, she happily agreed. They were married soon after, and, as all good stories end, they lived happily ever after. Thank you so much for listening to this wonderful tale with me. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more classic stories. See you next time.